Hey guys, Seán here, and welcome to another episode of the Any Given Runday podcast. And I am alone today. Not alone on the podcast, the lads are with me on Zoom, but since this past Tuesday when Aaron got a Garmin watch, I'm the only one out of the four of us that's in the Stone Age. Progress peaked with the 90s when it comes to me and with frozen pizza. I have not got a Garmin watch. The three boys do, so we're going to get straight to Aaron right now because Conor and Eric have had a watch for a while. Aaron, you got a watch on Tuesday. You told me before we hit the record button you haven't ran all week. You only ran on Monday before you got the watch. So with the exception of trying to get the motivation to run, Aaron, why did you invest in a Garmin watch? And talk a little bit about it.
Oh, I ran on Tuesday, actually. I did tell you before the interview that I ran on Monday, but it was Tuesday. So
I have a page of notes, and it all started with that. And now I'm just gonna like rip up the note page, show out the window.
Lead up. I had no idea where you go with that lead up, anyway, right?
I nearly told you where I was going. Anyway, Garmin watch.
Aaron is running so much now. It's just every run is just blending into one, like two runs a week. Can't tell the difference.
I just kept
every day
on running.
The reason why I kind of got the watch was to see how lazy I was, pretty much. Like, step-wise, you're supposed to have 10,000 steps a day or something like that by some medical professional thing out there. And usually at work, like when I'm going to work, normally it'd be like 5,000 steps. So it's like half that, which is pretty poor.
You mean the 70 steps you go to the bus? We've discussed it.
Well,
we're not going back to that topic.
Anyway, and so I kind of decided to do that. The training thing, you were chatting about the training thing with Garmin, so I was like, oh, okay, I'll have a look at that. That might be interesting to get, because I had a Fitbit before, like 4 years ago, and I don't know, it wasn't great, like, and then the whole kind of Google or the Garmin Pay or whatever it is, and like the battery life on this thing is actually pretty good as well. So I hate charging like my phone every day, and sometimes I'll not even bother charging my phone at night time because I'm not bothered reaching for the cable and plugging it in. I'll just leave it there and hope I wake up tomorrow morning on time.
And we expect you to be bothered enough to go for a run.
It's have high expectations, guys.
Although, no, completely agree with you, because when I was looking at, I think you got the Phoenix 5, did you?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
What do you have, Conor?
The Forerunner 245.
245. I don't know what the battery life. I was looking up them over the weekend, so they seem to be similar in the battery life, the Forerunner 245, depending on whether you use music or not. But
they get 5-6 days of it usually, yeah.
Yeah, and that was one thing I was like, because when we got the Fitbit, I think we got about a year ago, Seán.
January the year before.
I was finding charging it probably every second day, probably a bit sooner than that if I was using it for runs and stuff. You're probably a bit more, or maybe mine was just broken, so I have a bad impression of the Fitbit. But I would agree with you totally, Aaron, that if you are charging it every night, I probably wouldn't buy it. I'd end up getting very bored. And part of the reason I wanted to have a long battery as well is all the other health stats. So it's kind of checking how you're recovering through the night, your heart rate through the night, what kind of sleep are you getting, which is all kind of really important in how the runs are going or not runs in terms of what you're doing. But at least you know how much you're sleeping and what your resting heart rate is.
It shows you a good breakdown of your excuses here now. Like, so you can go
I understand there's different stages on it, like your activity levels. Aaron, have you seen any other stage apart from unproductive throughout the entire week, or how does that work?
I think you have to run with it or have it on your wrist for a week, and then it starts showing you stuff. Is that?
Yeah,
right?
That's true. Yeah, so you wear it. It actually recommends that you train for a week, and then it gives you your status. But I'd imagine you're not going to get the best review now in a couple of days. But having said that, when I bought this, I rang Seán, because I usually ring Seán before I make large investments in things that I end up may or may not be stupid.
So you rang Seán once then, yeah?
I rang Seán once, right? So I said, I know you're gonna kill me, but I'm gonna get a watch. He was like, how much is the watch? I'm not telling you, but I'm gonna tell you what it does. So I told him, like, I it does this, it tracks my runs, my swims, my cycles. I was just getting into the triathlons with it, and I was like, and it has all these coaching elements with it, and you can set training plans, and then the watch will tell you when you're being lazy, so I'll get out and run. And Sean was like, well, if you're going to actually use all those features, then absolutely yes. But if you're not going to, like, why not just get a little cheap watch to time your runs? And I was like adamant I had already bought the watch, but I didn't want to tell him. But the I want to kind of know, are you going to get into that kind of thing when you start getting your results? Because for me, the Garmin was the best, sorry Sean, personal trainer I've ever wore on my wrist. Saved it, recovered it. But it definitely was the best personal trainer I've ever had on my wrist, because it really does. Like when I have a 90-minute run there today. I've just come off a 24-hour duty. I really don't want to run. It's very hot. I'll probably get sunburned if I don't wear sunscreen. But the fact that that plan is on my watch for me to do, I know I'm going to do it today at some point. At some point this morning, I'll get out and get it done.
90 minutes, is it?
90-minute run. But are you thinking that could be something that's going to happen to you? Is it going to be a motivator for you?
I think I might like try and see what some of the plans are, or whatever it is, or stuff like that, and give it a go.
I was looking at Garmon Coach. Now this is online. Correct me if I'm wrong. Whereas when you run for a week, you can put in like there's plans for a 5K, 10K, and half marathon. Now this was a 2019 website I was looking at.
Yeah, that's it.
That's still the same.
The half marathon. Yeah.
And there's like 3 different approaches to it, and you put in like what day to do a long run, what your current time is, and what your best time is, and then you can look at, we've only done 3-4 times a week or 4 or 5 times a week, and goes from there. So you're using Garmin Coach now. You switched up for your half marathon. What's the crack with that?
Yeah, I started it. We were running all the 5Ks, and we were doing the max effort best 5Ks, and I really wasn't enjoying it at all. Although I was getting faster and I was getting fitter, genuinely. After one of the 5Ks, like my diaphragm was in a spasm, and I'd never ran that fast for that long, and I was like, I really just wanted to get back to the long distance. So I looked up the Garmin Coach because I keep seeing it as a feature, because I've followed the heart rate training, so I've had to go online through a laptop onto Garmin Connect to get the training plans to download, because you couldn't do it through the app, which is one of my kind of pet hates with Garmin at the start. But I think they've corrected that now. But I went back on to look at these training plans, and I actually, because Aaron told me he was getting a watch, so I actually went on to see if there was anything there that I could find to motivate me. And long story short, I signed up to run my best half marathon time. So I looked in Garmin Coach, and like you said, I filled out like how good is your running now, and I was like, yeah, okay, we've been doing a good 5K weeks, and I've been keeping up some of the long distance. And then it asks you for like, what's your goal? So I set for an hour 32, I think was the goal to set. So I reckon it has like a minimum, and that was at its maximum. So I'd say in the background it's probably working between certain parameters of what will get someone to that goal. But then it asks you to do a benchmark run, and this is why I think it'd be really, really good for you, Aaron, because if you go on that benchmark run, it's only 5 minutes long, and you run at your best effort, and it records how you function over that, and it predicts a plan for you. So it will change up the plan according to your fitness, and it will tell you how fast you should be running. So the plan is actually says it's from 12 to 16 weeks. And I don't know fully, but because I've been doing okay with the runnings on schedule, so I'd imagine if you're not improving, it will kind of keep you at the same level, and that's where the 12 to 16 week comes in. So if I keep improving above what it's saying, it should take 12 weeks. But I just thought it was really cool change from the heart rate training. So now on the runs, I'm actually going for a run, and instead of monitoring a zone where I'm so used to just seeing zone 2, zone 2, zone 2, zone 4, whereas now I'm actually monitoring a pace. So a green bar comes up on the top of the screen and gives me my pace I have to run for 40 minutes between 5 minutes 30 and 4:59. And once you maintain that pace within the green bar, and I actually found it as like a nice little motivator, because when you're on a long run, you switch off. When you're in a zone 2, it doesn't matter. Pace is irrelevant. You're just keeping the heart rate there. So your brain actually switches off, and you can run slower and faster or slower. But with this, like, looking down and seeing how much your pace has dropped, you're like, so you get kind of that little shock feeling, and it does cause you to push on a little bit more. And I'm noticing as well, like I'm seeing how close I can get to the red line as well. Like it's like driving the car until it busts, because there's a big chunk of green bar in the middle. So I'm trying to get as close to the upper end of the pace I'm supposed to be running. But so far, I found it really, really good. I know a couple of our listeners have got on to me. Fiona is actually using it as well. She was actually disgusted because I posted my coach's confidence during the week. So your coach actually gives you the confidence bar of how likely you are to reach your goal depending on your fitness and how your runs are going. So mine is right up in the very likely or really confident range. And then
the eye roll from Aaron was priceless there.
Typical.
I'm interested to see yours, but I'm also interested to see is it determined between the watch differences, because I know Phoenix 5 is slightly above the 245 in terms of some of the data pulls back, and I think Fiona may have the 245. I'm not sure, but anyway, she was like, Coach Greg would want to check out his trust issues, and she sent me a picture, and there was no confidence bar at all. It was just like Greg and how many weeks she was training, so she was absolutely disgusted. She said when she heard me talking about it and posting about it, she went on excitedly to see how confident someone was in their abilities, and there was no bar at all there even to exist of how well she's going to do. So but yeah, long story short, I did try this as a trial. I was kind of investigating just to see where we can bring this podcast, and people who are listening there's a lot of people buying watches now. They're getting into this fitness bug, and I suppose what I'm trying to do is see what kind of level that someone can buy a watch like Aaron, and I'm kind of hoping he's picking up on what I'm hinting at here, and can sign up to one of these, either 5K, 10K, half marathon, and follow the coach all the way through without thinking about it. And I think it could be a good idea. But so far, I'm actually really, really enjoying the experience.
That, Aaron, apart from the fact to stay away from Coach Greg, whatever that is, you're going to have to help me digest what happened over the last 5 minutes there with Eric talking, because I'm a little bit lost. What was your takeaway message from that?
Garmin has a few apps for running, and it has a few plans, and that's pretty much it.
Did it give you any idea what you want to do with it?
What?
Did it give you any idea what you want to do in terms of?
Yeah,
was it just
probably try do a half marathon.
Okay.
Try go for that one. I might try go for longer. Get to do the half marathon. Sure, that'll be good training for the Dublin Marathon if that ever happens there now. Just to keep you happy there now, Seán.
Well, we'll get to that Dublin Marathon in a couple of minutes. Conor, you have a 245. Is there any difference between a 245? Obviously, there is some sort of difference, but are you using Garmon Coach or what's the crack there?
Yeah, I think the difference is I suppose it's a slightly cheaper and less tech-heavy model than what Eric and Aaron has. So, similar to them, when I kind of got to the point where I was looking to buy a watch, I kind of wanted something that didn't have to charge every day, that I could track my sleep, respiration, heart rate. But I mean, I use a much, far more basic than Eric would. I mean, for me, it's pretty much start, stop, and how fast you run. That's about it. I think that the Garmon Coach is great for, if you're working towards a specific event. Again, because we're so closely monitored at the moment from a hurling perspective, all our sessions are tracked. So trying to fit in a specific running training plan for an event probably doesn't, it probably doesn't kind of fit into that overall plan. But, on the flip side, I'd be interested to see, let's say from a 10K, how the coach goes about, I suppose, kind of, implementing a plan whereby you'll improve over time. I think that kind of distance will probably fit in better than a half marathon or a longer distance for me, with the hurling, because a lot of what we do is interval focused, and distances tend to range, journal sessions to no more than about 6 kilometers. So again, look, I barely scratched the surface with my watch, but I have to say I do recommend it very highly. I was one of these people who for years used to run with their phone in their hand. And for anyone who knows what that's like for any kind of a distance, it's your hand starts cramping quite quickly, and you can't really tuck into your waistband for obvious reasons. So look,
I still
Hold
do
on,
it.
what's the
I'm
odds
used
of
to it.
you can't tug it into your waist?
unless you want to start the phone like.
All right, okay.
I still roll the phone because I have the Fitbit, but I only use Fitbit for like heart rate and stuff. So the phone is literally always in my hand. It's always there for music as well. So I'm like running around like this. And
Yeah. But I think what is great about Garmin is that, and the lads will kind of maybe know this as well, is that, there's obviously a multitude of different models, so you can, I suppose, kind of purchase on the basis of what you need it for. Whether you're an elite athlete or just, someone who's kind of starting off and just needs a basic stopwatch and maybe a little bit more. There's something there to suit everyone.
Right before we jump off the Garmin train, because there's probably a lot of people listening to this going, well, all this information is great, but it's absolutely useless to me unless I'm going to go out and get a Garmin. Aaron, you finally posted about your Garmin, and the number one thing you spent 350 quid on it. The battery lasts, 27 days, whatever it is. Does all this sort of in-tech stuff that Eric's talking about. And then people said to you, Aaron, that's a very nice looking strap. So you can get different straps for it. What's the crack?
The disco strap.
Yeah, I don't know what these straps are about. I just got like 2 pairs of straps off Amazon with the Garmin as well. Like,
but you felt like you got the best model. You didn't spend enough. You went and bought more money. You spent more money on getting the right straps for it.
It's just that, if I'm going to be like, say, if I'm going to be going out to the pub, maybe not with you lads now because you're a bit far away and all that stuff.
Well, the whole pub's not open to least August.
I have a black strap, so I don't have this orange thing on my hand.
Show us.
The watch isn't on you, is it?
It is on me. It's there.
Disco! Look at that watch.
Yeah, like Amazon or whatever it was. I think they're generic, kind of like, like generic straps or whatever they are. I don't think they're the actual Garmin ones.
Gotcha.
When myself and Austin bought the Phoenix, I think I have it nearly a year now. It came with a kind of a disco strap in it. It was like a luminous yellow, and it was like definitely, like you're saying, Aaron, it's like I'm gonna keep that strap for when I go to a beat or something, because you find it very hard to wear this luminous yellow watch into work and try and look professional with it. But the colors you can get with it are actually really cool. But like Aaron said, it's actually a cool idea to change up the strap. So like one you can wear with a suit, and one you can definitely wear with your shorts and t-shirts on days like this. Like, so it's they are cool. They're very cool.
We've gone to like technical aspects of running to accessorizing our wrists going out in different times. And yet we all can't go out.
It's all about looking good. It's all about looking good.
On that note, we got fairly technical there. Slightly bit more technical stuff. I want to like just to get everyone kind of involved in stuff because I feel a little bit left out. But the last thing I want to hit on this week's episode of the podcast is just running form. Eric, you hit that in the post this week a little bit about running form. I'm just going to throw a couple of different things out at you and just see if you kind of agree, disagree, different things like that. For example, one of the things they say for running form over longer distances is to try and get 180 steps per minute. So your stride length, to shorten your stride length rather than increasing it. So, for example, if you're increasing your stride length for sprints, you want to be in the air longer because you're getting that bounce, that forced repetition, that acceleration phase. So you're on the front of the balls of your feet as you're pressing forward. Whereas if you run 180 steps per minute, you're minimizing that stride length and you're minimizing that air time, which means the shock hitting the ground over and over again is a lot less in your feet. And if you're suffering from calf pain when you're doing long distance running, there is chances you're actually landing on the balls of your feet and your calf is constantly contracted rather than landing on the midfoot of your foot and then towards the rear of your foot and then slowing down those strides. Like, for example, my runners, the Hoka 1-1s, it's almost like a boat shape they are. So you kind of like roll through it rather than that. Because I'd be a runner that would constantly bounce my feet because the constant, just the different sports and stuff I played, I had to always be on my toes. I mean, my calves are shocking. It's like I wore heels all my life where they hadn't got to touch the ground. That's how bad my calves are. So would you guys agree with kind of increasing step length? Or to be honest, I don't even go into that. I just kind of slow down, speed up, and just with the runners, I happen to land better on my midfoot. Do you guys look into that any more, or is it just like this is the way I'm running slower, faster, time zones, or time zones in terms of heart rate, or what's the story there?
I actually, believe it or not, because I know we're saying about the data that your watch picks up, but I was quite conscious because for a tall guy, 6'2", 6'3", I have a really short stride. And I was actually kind of annoying me for a little while because I was seeing some of my smaller friends with a longer stride with me over the run. So I'm kind of like, were they burning less energy to me? Like it's funny you saying that because I'm actually, wherever you've researched it, because I know you've probably looked into it during the week, but I'd like to read in more about that because it might change my paranoia. I might have a thing here for long distance running if I already have a short stride. But I was really conscious. There was a photograph you put up of myself, Seán, when I went doing my very first triathlon, and I was tired by the time you've seen me. But the most poignant part of that photograph is how much my heel is about to strike the ground in that photograph. And we might post it during the week as a kind of a throwback, but you can very clearly see like my calf is nearly hitting the ground, my leg is that high. It's going to be quite a big heel strike. So when I'm on my slower runs, I've actually been trying to run on my toes and finding my calves were getting quite sore. Because I'm trying to change my running form slightly to be like kind of landing on the balls of my foot as opposed to heel striking every time. So actually, yeah, you've kind of opened a door here that I probably might need to investigate with form running over the next little while. Now I did try the stride this week, and I was watching videos on people on how to stride and how it should look and increasing the steps per minute during the stride, but I never considered it in terms of the long distance running you should be increasing it and how you should land. So actually very interesting. I'll have to find out where you got that and I'll look into it during the week.
Hang on, let my phone to switch over there. Sorry about that. I'll bring it back down 2 seconds. Yeah, so basically when it comes to sprints and stuff, to increase your sprints, if you have less strides over like 100 meters and stuff like that, that's going to help you go faster because it means more force and stuff. So that'd be kind of stuff you're doing, Conor, in terms of your intervals and stuff. And it can help as well, like we're talking to you the week about, change your foot position over 400 meters to work on that kind of that stride length, but still land on toes, midfoot kind of thing, and switching up from there. Sorry, I completely lost my train of thought. I've no idea where I was going with that. I'll just jump on to my last point there in terms of total body positioning, and then ask yourself, Conor or Aaron, about this one. They say kind of like I've read a completely different research in this, like a forward lean, if you stand upright, shoulders back, because we've all seen people running and their form is horrible. They're hunched over and they're, barely in front of each other. 3 or 4 different thoughts pop from my head. Aaron, I want to hit back on you. I know I'm jumping all over the place. I want to hit back one thing with that heel strike. The problem with people heel striking, Aaron's laughing at me because I'm all over the shop here. The problem with the heel striking sometimes is that the heel's going out too far in front of their foot, in front of their pace. So if you heel strike too far ahead of yourself, you're actually going to slow down if you're overreaching the foot. So you kind of have to be closer to mid foot for that.
But that's where that photograph we put up, you can actually see like how far my leg is in front, and you can tell from the image that it's just not going to be nice. And I probably did that for the full 10K at the end of the marathon because I was tired, my legs were tired. So I was trying to move at a quicker pace, but obviously form went out the window. It was just get it done. But yeah, it is interesting now to see, and I wonder now, looking back after running for a longer time over the last year or so, has my form changed now as I've ran more? So it'll be interesting if I probably get a couple of pictures of myself going for a run and see how the heel strike is. But I'll look into it for you, and I'll probably track it a little bit over the next couple of weeks just so people can see and maybe be conscious of in the training. And there is some great videos out there and there is great research on it, but I do equally say it's very hard, like especially when I was doing heart rate training and I try and run differently to just the average Eric run. My heart rate would go up, my body would be working harder because it's not doing what it's used to. Like I'm running that way since I was 1.5 or 2, and I've ran that way all my life. So trying to change now at 27 it's going to be difficult. But
yeah,
I can still be conscious of it.
And that can create a whole another set of problems. If you're running a set away and you're comfortable running a set away and you try to switch it up too drastically, your muscles are going to react differently to that, different moving patterns and cause injuries. Conor, quick note there. You think too much about running strides, steps, anything like that running, or is it just literally just A to B as fast as you can?
I suppose the elements of kind of what you and Eric touched on there that kind of relate to myself. Just from a sporting perspective, I mean, you're always kind of told to stay on your toes. So automatically, my intention is to kind of, strike with the ball on my foot. But I suppose, going back to my first marathon, there's pictures where, not dissimilar to Eric, you can see that my heel is about to hit the ground long before anything else. So something that I would have been a little bit more conscious about, checking, over the years. And again, I suppose kind of, I always kind of felt that if you put on a kind of a face or a brave face on things, even when you're hurting, it helps. So, even when, I was getting to kind of the latter stage of those long runs, I'd always have my chest up, my shoulders back, making sure I'm getting plenty of oxygen in. But I mean, when it comes to the likes of, steps per kilometer or things like that, or cadence, it's not something I would really focus on. And again, there's a lot of benefits to focusing on it and being able to train yourself to improve that. And again, not to plug Garmin here and that, but the benefit of a device like that is it'll show you that information. So, if it is something that you yourself want to kind of track, you can. But again, I suppose, similar to Eric, I think we kind of will all hit a point in time whereby, what we're doing just isn't kind of creating an environment for us to improve any longer, and we're going to have to look at different pieces of our running, whether it's our form or our pace. So, it's kind of the sort of thing where it's not something I would have focused on previously, but, going forward, I'll probably put a little bit more of an emphasis into, seeing how I can improve.
Yeah, I think overall the most important thing is just like, it depends on where you're at and what your overall goal is. If you're aiming for a 132 half marathon, you might have to look at the steps per minute and all the rest. But for myself, it's just enjoying the running, and I'm enjoying what we're doing with the running club in terms of different paces, just to have different challenges each week. So I know Monday's different challenge to Wednesday. I hate Wednesday interval, actually. I fucking hate it, but because I just get blown up so easy doing it. But I'm enjoying more the long runs and stuff like that, and just having that three little thing. Quickly before we wrap up, we had a poll on the Instagram group this week on the likelihood of an event being in 2020, or if we need a vaccine before we start doing runs again, especially Aaron talking about Dublin City Marathon. Maybe he thinks it's not going to go ahead, and that's why he could say, oh yeah, I'll definitely do it this year. But 57% of people said that there won't be any run. This also, I have to preface this by saying this was before I was going to say in the Kenny. This before Leo's talk on Friday about the 5-stage plan. So I think this was Wednesday, Thursday we talked about this. But 57% say there will be no running events in 2020 without a vaccine first. Obviously 43 said we'll have some sort of type of running in 2020. Aaron, what's your thoughts on it really quick?
I'd say there's a possibility there might be a vaccine by September thereabouts. That's just pretty hopeful. But so I'd say there might be, but it'll be December maybe, if we're allowed to do it then. And
no runs till December. Okay, Conor, your thoughts?
I think the plan for sports to be recommenced is incredibly optimistic. And again, going off kind of hurling, they're identifying kind of the 29th of July as being the time for GA teams to go back, and again while maintaining social distancing. So that just doesn't seem possible really. I think that if social distancing is still to be maintained, any kind of sporting event is going to be, in question.
And the man who's running so much that he's starting to look like him, Ryan Tuberty. After your interview skills on Thursday, I have to throw that in.
Yeah. I used to be fat, so I take that as a compliment. I think 2020 is a bit of a write-off. No, I don't think there's going to be any run. I would love to see the Dublin Marathon. I think it would be great for the country as a whole to have the Dublin Marathon and get people out and cheering from their homes, and because, as you guys know, it's a very special marathon, a very friendly marathon. But unfortunately, I think there's just too many unknowns. There's a lot of work to be done this year. And I just think next year, when social distancing, you all know the start of a race, there is no social distancing. There's 20,000 odd people. So I can't see the marathon happening. I just can't. So I'd say it'll be next year.
Okay, and speaking of marathons, best of luck to, I suppose if he's listening to this, he's probably done now, Owen Murphy, who you interviewed this week, Eric, for his marathon estate. Maybe we're all going to have to do 129 laps of our own estates and different things like that.
Yeah, it was a great little side interview, just because it was such a big thing going for him and for the charity, and people listening. And we won't talk much about it now that the episode is there for that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we following the episode. I'm not saying we in any way has helped his promotion of his own work. It's been brilliant, but since myself and Oren talked, he went from about 9,500, and he's now through 12,000, and that was Thursday. So, we would like to say, if anyone is listening, that thank you very much if you did give him his support, and if you haven't, you can still donate. It's all in aid of Childline, and Oren would really appreciate it, and so would we, because it is a great cause, and I think it's absolutely phenomenal what he's doing. And I'd say he's very bored at this stage, and it's turning out to be quite a hot one, and he's running through midday, so I'd say he's going to find himself in a bit of trouble around 1 o'clock now today. But we really wish him well, and thanks to everyone who donated. From €12,000 to run around his estate is bizarre, but it's absolutely amazing, and people are very, very generous. And thank you very, very much.
He put up a post of all different signs and stuff, and it's pretty cool to see, like, in the estate. But one person had a sign saying "The end is near." And I'm like, oh man, he has to lap that 129 times. Just keep saying the end is near. He'll never believe the end is near ever again. And on that positive note, we'll wrap up this episode of the Any Given Runday podcast. I think there was a lot to take from that episode, especially if you have a Garmin out there. Me, I'm just going to enjoy my runs right now and hopefully save up, and maybe Santa might get me one this Christmas. Who knows, if social distancing allows Santa to visit my house. And that's it, pretty much, this episode of the podcast. Thank you from the four of us once again, and take care.